Alrighty, welcome everybody to a Sam Capital breakdown technical analysis video. If you guys aren't aware of who I am, I'm one of the guys on the Zoom for the Time to Eat live stream. I'm a full-time trader. I've been trading gold for about 3.5 years. One of the educators for the boot camp over at Time to Eat. I do fundamental analysis, yada yada yada. I don't know. I've been in this game for a little while, but I wanted to make a little bit of a video on this, and it has to do with technical analysis, right? Because it's understanding the higher time frames of candles between the sessions. And I was just thinking about it, right? So like for me personally, since I'm able to see um the chart, or I'm able to come to the desk at any time that I want throughout the session, right? It requires a lot of discipline. It requires a little bit of a plan as well for deciding on whether I want to execute on trades during my normal New York session or other sessions such as Asian or London. Okay, so I have a little bit of a plan, and it's something, and it's like, well, it's not like a new plan or anything. It's just something I've gone off of for a long while, and I just thought that this might help other people as well. And I kind of wanted to share it, right? And it's nothing that you guys aren't familiar with already. If you are super familiar with the playbook and everything, and really all it is once you watch all of this, you'll understand that this is just price action. This is just how price action works across all time frames, and that's just all I trade. So let's get into it, right? So the topic for this video really is just going to be like mastering the New York session, mastering the sessions, and understanding what might typically happen between the sessions, right? So let's just start off here with a bullish daily candle, right? So let's just say that it's Monday or whatever. We had a bullish closure, and our previous candle on the daily time frame looks something like this. Okay. So what can you kind of expect moving into the next daily time frame? Well, obviously we're going to be looking for buys for this day, right? Now, what I want you to understand is that these daily time frames, and quite typically with gold, we're going to focus mostly on gold with this for this example, right? Because gold is a pair that moves more often in the New York session than any other session. So I think that this video and this explanation fits best for gold. However, you can apply this to, for example, GBP JPY, except I would switch the sessions around from like, for example, you would be looking to see GJ make its move in London versus gold is going to make its move in New York, right? So let's get into this. So we have our first daily candle here. We had a nice bullish closure. So how many candles are in a daily candle, right? You have one, two, I can't draw. Anyways, there's six candles in a six 4-hour candles in a daily candle, right? Because six times four, 24, 24 hours in a day, blah, blah, whatever. Anyway, so you have to understand that. So this was the previous daily candle, the one that I'm looking at right here. So when we move into the next day, what may happen here for gold, right? So let's just say it might move up. This is the next 4-hour candle. Okay, so this is the time frame between 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. And then, okay, since we had a little bit of a bullish bias, you might see the candle kind of move up, whatever, start to print a new high for the daily. And then you might come into pre-London, 1 a.m. Eastern, right? And so then this is what you can kind of see here. And so now this 4-hour candle, let's just say we broke the highs, we started to move up. You technically also have a little bit of a like a support within here too, right? So what's going to happen here more than likely when we're moving into London session? Because if this candle closed at 1 a.m., London session is at 3 a.m., more than likely, if you understand how the candles are going to move, you'll see your top wick from that 1 to 1:30 a.m. period, maybe 2, and then you'll start to see around 2, 2:30, London open. It'll start to make this move down here on the 4-hour. However, this may not mean that gold is bearish for the day, okay? Right? So then what happens next? We have the next 4-hour daily candle or 4-hour candle, sorry. And this next 4-hour candle will be at what time? 5 a.m. Eastern. So this is pre-New York now. So now what may happen here, right? Because we drove up, we had a clean traffic moving up into here. We're coming down bearish. Does that mean we switch our bias? Absolutely not. Because now what might happen for New York is we might just see a nice drive down into here. We break these lows, and then you see some sort of a support formed on this 4 hour time frame in here, right? And then so if you go to our lower time frames, it maybe some of you have seen this too. We talk about it a little bit more as of late than anything, but it's 6, 7 a.m. Boom, within this wick here of this 4 hour candle moving down. Instead of being bearish and looking for sells, you can say, hey, this might be the daily candle coming to make a bottom wick here. And then boom, what happens? We print this 4 hour support here. And then when is the next candle at? 9 a.m. Eastern. What also happens at 9 a.m.? 9:30 a.m. Eastern, you have NYSE open, so there's a high probability that between that 9 to 9:30 period will make the bottom wick, and then for 9 a.m. or 9:30 rather, you'll see that nice move up with the NYSE. And then what will you have here within this daily time frame? Just another nice bullish candle following suit off of this previous one that we were looking at over here, right? So that is how you can look at all of the time frames and kind of paint them, okay? But so now let's, for example, talk about a couple scenarios in here, right? Because every single day on the charts is different, right? So if you have a daily bias that's bullish, what is Sam Capital going to be waiting for here every single day? I'm waiting to see one of these candles close bullish and give us a support before. I'm thinking about taking any 30-minute onions buys. Like if you were to take like 30-minute onion buys, like for example, within this candle, like let's just say that, and if we drop down to an extremely lower time frame, because this is the 4 hour, who knows? Within this candle and this candle here towards the top, there might have been a sort of smaller range where let's just say right before London Open, you had a little bit of a support printed or something, and then you're like, all right, this is it, boom, and then and then what do you know happens? You get smoked. You get a 3 a.m. celery comes down, breaks these lows here, bleeds. You get this move here that you're looking at on the 4 hour time frame, right? So the biggest thing that I'm trying to, I guess, the biggest takeaway I want you guys to see here is that I'm waiting for these 4 hour time frames to line up in my favor, right? So, and that even typically goes for New York session. So let's just say that, since we're just going by scenarios, we had a bullish bias on the day coming into it, right? But what happens if that 5 a.m. candle that we were talking about here, this pre-New York right before NYSE, let's just say, for example, it closed bearish, like something like this, right? And say that this was clean traffic here on the previous daily time frame, okay? And so now you'd have to look at other data, obviously, because you'd have to look left and see if you have any sort of resistance that this may have ran into on the 4 hour time frame here on the left-hand side to see that, okay, that yeah, this is definitely going to want to keep coming down here, right? Because you still don't want to get caught. Um, but however, if you can see like right before 9:30 that gold is doing something like this, where we start to push up first, and at first this is going to look like a bullish candle. And then you see like 9:30, we flip, get some sort of a what do you call it? A celery, onion, whatever you want to call it, a bearish setup. Moving into 9:30, then there's a high probability that big move up yesterday, the New York session is going to want to correct it, right? But all I'm doing here is I look at the daily time frame and I look at the 4 hour time frame. And then once those things kind of line up in the same direction, so let's, for example, again, if we had a bullish daily bias, I'll be waiting for a 4 hour candle to line up. Let me make it green. I'll be waiting for a 4 hour candle to give me some sort of a support so that way within the next one you can say like, hey, okay, maybe what'll happen here is you'll get a 1 hour celery or something like that. And then whenever gold goes at 9:30 and breaks the highs, boom, you could take buys here, and then gold should just run up, right? And then you could have stops below current, and you could look for that 4 hour moving through that clean traffic, right? But you want to base off of the 4 hour and the daily. What I've always used to tell people, secret, is to let the daily, or with weekly too, with the weekly, the daily, and the 4 hour, paint the picture for what you're looking to see the chart actually do, right? In terms of what direction it's going to head and that kind of stuff, right? Direction with the chart, etc. 4 hour, daily, weekly. Those are your strong higher time frames. And then you want to use, whatever you use, 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute to find your entry, right? But really, that is basically it. I could do this for a lot of different scenarios. I could continue to do this. But I think that a lot of you, if you start to wait for that 4 hour candle to think of it as like we call it a daily bias now. Some of you might call it that. But if you think of it as like a 4 hour bias, think of it like I need my 4 hour bias to line up, right? Um, and I think that you can see some a little bit more better results in your favor, right? So, all right, so let's just do a little bit of a live example. So if we look at gold, it's a little bit of an uglier closure here, right? Because you didn't break these lows here and we just barely closed below. So there's a good chance that you'll see this good pullback here, right? For gold. So for example, perfect money. This is gonna be a perfect example for me to show you guys this. Okay, so look, you have a bunch of bearish candles driving down here. However, this last one, you can see, I mean, it's the end of the week, last 4 hour candle, didn't have that much volume. It didn't even break the highs or lows of the previous candle, right? So now what would you want to wait here? You have a weekly bearish bias, right? If we go to our monthly time frame, we made this top wick looking to drive down into 1990s. And this is your clean traffic in here, right? From our higher time frame. We'll do this zone, bink, and then actually we'll draw a line. Okay, and so starting from the weekly, we have a bearish week, bearish month. Let's go to the day. We're bearish. However, we might need that pullback. So like I was just explaining on the 4 hour time frame, if you can wait, because there's a high probability that the weekly candle is going to want to make a top wick right before it drives down bearish. If you can be super patient this week and you can wait for, let's just say gold goes up. We'll say we get a 4 hour candle bullish here, another bullish 4 hour candle, and then we'll say this is the opening of the week. This is Asian session. So for me, this is 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. And then we see around on Monday or tonight, we start to reject and form a bit of a bearish 4 hour candle. You can bet that Sam Capital is about to be in sells moving back down here on this daily and weekly time frame, right? Because now with this pullback you have here on the 4 hour time frame, this is clean traffic for the 4 hour candles to move back down, but you need to form this resistance here first. Okay, so that is also going to kind of go with, yeah. So for the week, that's my daily. This is kind of what I want to, see happen on Monday, moving into tonight. Um, But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But basically, that's just a prime example of what you want to be doing. So, if you get a chance to watch this video before this move happens, and you see that happen, and you get to capitalize off of it, awesome. I hope that this video helped you, and I hope that you have a great rest of your trading month.